Politicians not telling us the truth. Okay, so we hear a lot about Medicaid cuts, close to $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts over the next 10 years. And they're saying, don't worry about that. If you're receiving Medicaid, if you have a loved one receiving Medicaid in a nursing home, or you're 65 and older receiving Medicaid and Medicare, which millions of people do receive Medicare and Medicaid. I've got a bunch of questions here. I'll get into the live Q&A here in a little bit. But politicians say, oh, you have nothing to worry about. All of the cuts are just going to be for those lazy 26-year-olds that are playing video games in their parents' basement. That's who we're going to cut off. We're going to make those people go to work. And the other cuts are, we're just cutting illegal aliens, undocumented immigrants off of Medicaid. All right. So I've got proof here that's, guess what? Politicians are not telling us the truth. Number one, let's get with the undocumented immigrants. If you find in the big, beautiful bill, the hundreds of pages in there where it changes the law that says, okay, people that are undocumented in this country can no longer get Medicaid. It's not in there because people that are in this country illegally, undocumented, cannot get Medicaid, period, end of story. There are some people that are in this country and they were allowed in this country because they're refugees or asylees. Some people say they shouldn't be, but those people are legal in this country. We gave them green cards. And if they fulfill the requirements for Medicaid, then they get. But we're talking undocumented people that are in this country illegally. They cannot get Medicaid. You'll hear a rebuttal on that. And they say, well, people that go into the emergency room. Okay, yes. When someone goes in the emergency room, doctors, their number one job is to make sure that person, leaves that emergency room. That person is stabilized. They don't check your legal status. They don't check your birth certificate. You shouldn't have to walk around with your passport or anything like that. And some people that are in this country illegally go to the emergency room. And it's been estimated that is less than 0.4% of emergency Medicaid spending. The other 99.6% of Medicaid spending in the emergency room is all the other people that are in this country legally. So politicians like to take a very, 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 very small sliver and say, we're going after that. And they're basically throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You've got a bunch of people over there. Oh, you've got a bunch of people. Sorry about that. You've got a bunch of people. There's a certain group of people in America that they want to essentially, they've got someone in their target, that one person out of 100 that they don't like. They say it's a different color than me, and different hair color, different accents. They're in this country, whatever the case may be. And they're willing to burn the whole thing down in order to get to that one person. But unfortunately, as we'll see, as I will show, that those people are kind of regretting it because it affects them. They're targeting this one person and throwing the entire baby out with the bathwater. It's coming back to affect them. So, okay, so I worked at the Department of Social Services before I worked at the Social Security Administration. I worked at the Department of Social Services doing food stamps, doing Medicaid. If you're not in this country legally, you ain't getting it, period, end of story. Okay, so we're still getting $1 trillion of Medicaid cuts, and it's not targeting those undocumented immigrants. So who does it target? Okay, the other argument is we're just kicking a whole bunch of people off that are 26 years old and that should be working. Okay, here's the example that proves that that's not correct. In Texas, yes, Texas, who is not known as a very liberal state, even the Texas Hospital Association said, hey, if these cuts happen, which they did, it's going to have a catastrophic impact on Texas. And Texas, they don't give Medicaid to undocumented immigrants because they barely give health insurance to Texans. I know I went to high school in Paris, Texas, so I can talk crap about Texas. So it's not undocumented immigrants that they're taking a cut on. Texas is getting a cut in their Medicaid, and hundreds of thousands of Texans are going to be affected as well as the other 49 states. But I'm just using Texas as an example. Okay, so it's not, Texas is going to get their Medicaid cut. And it's not because of undocumented immigrants, because they don't, pay for undocumented immigrants. And it's not 26-year-olds. Why? Because Texas never gave Medicaid to 26-year-olds unless you're disabled. So that stereotypical thing the politicians talk about, well, this is just for lazy 26-year-olds that live in their parents' basement and are playing PlayStation all day. We want those people to go back to work. Well, Texas never gave health insurance to those people. These are called non-expansion states. So Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, Kansas, South Dakota, Wyoming, South Carolina, Tennessee, Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a little bit different, but the other 9 states never expanded Medicaid to those populations. But guess what? They are getting cut. So this shows that it's not about them. And we're only talking those 26, those people that are not eligible, that have to go back to work now. They're only a very, very small percentage. It's estimated that the spending on those are probably about 3 or 4%, but we're getting $1 trillion cuts. And what's going to happen is, who's going to pay? We already know. Hospitals are closing down. That's one of the things that Texas has said that's going to be catastrophic. The budgetary, they're going to be Medicaid-heavy services like pediatrics, behavioral health, obstetrics are likely to be considered for reduction or elimination. Maternal care in rural settings will be placed in extreme peril. And so this is Texas. Again, they're going to get budget cuts, even they don't give it to undocumented. So they're not cutting there. They're not cutting, lazy gamers, the stereotypical lazy gamers. But they're getting cuts. So just as every other state is getting cuts. And so this is going to affect everybody else, all the other people that are receiving Medicaid. And because there's also Medicare cuts happening, and people say, well, that's not in the big, beautiful bill. That is correct. It's not in the big, beautiful bill. And it should be, because when the government, Congress passes a law that causes a deficit, then that has to be offset. It's called the Pay-Go Act. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Is Russell Vogt, who was an architect of Project 2025, he's the guy who gets to choose where the cuts come from. And he can't touch Social Security. This is part of the law. They can't touch Social Security. They can't touch Veterans Affairs. So then where can he touch? Where can he find over $500 billion? Medicare. So Medicare is going to be started to be cut. That's why we see a lot of people having issues with their plans next year, and they're going to have issues going forward. Hospitals are going to be closing down. Doctor networks are going to be reduced. We already see that in the news every day. So Medicaid is going to be cut. Medicare is going to be cut. We've already seen millions of people are going to lose the Affordable Care Act. And there's a lot of people out there that says, well, I don't have any of those. I've got private insurance. Well, guess what? Just as in Texas, people in Texas pay more than the national average. Why? Because you've got a bunch of people that do not have health insurance, and they go to the emergency room, because just because you have health insurance doesn't mean you don't get into an accident or get sick. You go to the emergency room, the most expensive way to get health care, and you can't pay. And the hospitals get stuck with that. The health insurance gets stuck with that, and everybody else's premium is going to go up. And the people that really can't afford that premium cut are obviously the seniors that are dependent on Social Security only. And people say, well, we're getting this big cut of taxes. Isn't the one part of the one big, beautiful bill a big cut in taxes? Well, if you look at the Congressional Budget Office, the tax cuts mostly go to the highest wage earners. Let me show a little bit better there. So the highest wage earners there, they get the maximum set. And if you're in the lowest part, in terms of household income, your benefits are not very much. And it's even worse when you take into consideration the tariffs, because you might get a tad bit. It's estimated probably about $160 or so if you're low income as a tax cut, but you're paying even more of that because of the tariffs. So when you take the tariffs into consideration and inflation across the board and the increasing prices of healthcare, then yeah, the majority of people are going to lose because of the one big beautiful bill and tariffs. This is a Yale study here. And guess who gets a big benefit? Guess what? The people who always get the big benefit on this. So there are a few pennies that come to the rest of us, but most of it goes to the rich, the powerful, the billionaires, and the big corporations. So it's going to be tough out there. So this is one of the things our community does here on a daily basis. I do a topic of the day, which I'm finished with for today. I did it in under 11 minutes. If you've got any questions, any disputes, you disagree with whatever, make sure you type it in the live Q&A or the comments later. But let's go ahead and get into some actual questions, and let's see what we can do to help as many people out there as possible. I'll do a live Q&A for the rest of the hour. Can someone tell me how likely the 23% cut will be? I am sure I am not the Lone Ranger in thinking this will hurt bad. Yes, this will hurt bad. So what he's talking about, Ben, is you've got 87 more checks at your current rate, and the 88th check is going to be cut by 23%. That's according to the Social Security Trustees report and the Congressional Budget Office. It's probably going to be earlier and more. Again, this is if we don't do anything. We've been told this for 40 years and we haven't done anything. I always say this is like the Titanic, 40 miles away from the iceberg. And then the Social Security Trustees report has told us every mile, every year, we're 39 miles away. We got to turn it. We're 38 miles away. We got to turn it. And we ignored it for 40 years. And we can't ignore it anymore. And everybody's going to get a cut. This is not one of those grandfathered in. Well, I'm already receiving benefits. Well, I'll be grandfathered in. They never touch benefits for people currently receiving benefits. No, that's now how the law is written. Social Security can only pay out what they bring in or that they have in the trust fund. The trust fund is running out. And it wasn't stolen. That's what politicians have been telling us for 40 years to kind of, tell us it's given to illegals, it's given overseas. No, that's all BS. The baby boomers put trillions of dollars in the bank account in the trust fund. Now they're retiring and they're pulling it out. So if you are receiving Social Security benefits right now, about 10% of your check comes from the trust fund. And next year, 12, 13% will come in and slowly the trust fund will be depleted. As of 2024, there was 2.5 trillion in there. We took out $100 billion in 2024. And yeah, it would just like any savings. You take more money out and eventually it becomes empty. And once it becomes empty, then Social Security can only pay out what it receives in at that time. That is through FICA taxes, people that are actually working. And the reason why all of this is happening is because it's not because of demographics or anything like that. It's because wages, real wages, adjusted for inflation since the 1980s for the rest of us have been stagnant, but productivity has been through the roof. But where has that money gone? It's gone to the top. So we pay 6.2% on every dollar we make. If you make over $176,100, you stop paying FICA tax, Social Security FICA tax on that amount. So that's the issue right there. All right. Yeah, unfortunately, it's going to happen to everybody. Notification went out today that food benefits are suspended for November. My 86-year-old mother is affected. Yeah, the Department of Agriculture, who administers the food stamp program, SNAP benefits. Yeah, they said they don't have a budget for November. So you really need to reach out to your politicians and, make sure they do the right thing and get that. Yeah, a lot of people are out there. We're doing our part. We're coming up with a new website that we're going to a place where y'all can list the food banks, other places, resources available in your particular area. So that's coming out very, 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 very soon. So make sure you subscribe and like, and yeah, but you have to reach out to your politicians and tell them this is completely unsatisfactory. There sure is a lot of blue dyed hair 20-something in the food stamp line during renewal month. Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, I would. Yeah, one of I was an old Marine Corps sergeant. I ran the third busiest Social Security office in the country. Also did food stamps and Medicaid. And I tell you, doing food stamps was highly fulfilling. You had people in there that, there's domestic abuse, and the wife and two children, were kicked out of the house or something, and they didn't have any food, and they came down, and you went through the whole thing and checked to confirm the story, and you handed over that EBT card, and you said, here's food to feed your kids and stuff. Is there fraud, waste, and abuse? Of course. But that's what politicians use. There's 5 magic words that politicians are using nowadays. As soon as they use any one of these 5 words, then we as Americans, I guess we let them do whatever they want. Fraud, waste, abuse, illegal alien. Use those 5 words, abracadabra. Okay, whatever. Do whatever you have to do. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. Who cares? So, let's see. I'm going to be able to live. I'm very ill and alone. Mary, remember, if you're having a hard time there's a lot of programs that a lot of people miss. That's why I do this live Q&A every single day. If you're receiving, Social Security, if your Social Security benefits are under $967, then you can get what's called SSI through Social Security, Supplemental Security Income. So reach out to Social Security. If you're having a hard time paying the Part B premium, that $185, contact Medicaid in your particular state. It's called different Medi-Cal or, Denali Care and different names. Reach out to them and file for Medicaid. That'll help you with your health care. But they also might be able to pay the $185. That puts another $185 in your pocket. You reach out to Chapter there and see if you can get if you have a Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement plan, see if you can get something better for 2026, 100% free help there. They support this, our live Q&A and everything. Democrats need to quit playing games and open the government up. This is getting ridiculous. Well, the major thing is they don't want the cuts to happen. I mean, it's simple. They could just go ahead and do it and let people suffer, but they decided to, yeah. Our city is not as large as Charlotte, but I'm starting to see a homelessness downtown. Yeah, and that's one of the big issues is Section 8 housing also gets Section 8 housing, according to the big, beautiful bill, gets a 43% cut. HUD, the Housing and Urban Development, gets a 43% cut in their budget. So we're going to see a lot more homelessness, particularly amongst seniors. Yeah. But again, as I showed, there's, we're going to be paying the bottom 10%, 20%, 30%, we're going to be hurting more and more and more. Less money, more inflation, paying the tariffs, taxes, which is essentially a sales tax, and less resources, less Medicaid, food stamps, HUD, all the rest of it. But, we get a new golden ballroom. So there's that. So any consolation, so we can go dance the night away in our new ballroom. I don't think we're going to be allowed. Disability 7 years to retirement at full retirement age. SS sent a letter adding $45 to recalculate my earnings. Did not earnings. Okay. All right. That's let me see here. I received, I think what you're talking about is what I received. Somebody emailed me this a few days ago and asked about it. I took out all the personal information, the person's name and all that, of course. So this is the letter this individual received from the Social Security Administration, the Great Lakes Program Service Center, the PSC there. So this person is getting a very nice benefit, $2,900 a month. So that's based on how much he paid throughout his 35 years of Social Security. So he had some very good jobs, paid into Social Security quite a bit over 35 years, had some high income. So that's a beautiful thing. But what they said is that, hey, we're going to send you $144 in October 24th, and then we're going to increase your monthly benefit amount by a few bucks there. And he's saying, what the heck is up with this? Why is this? And I think this answers your live Q&A question here. It's basically when you continue to work, it doesn't matter whether you're 65, 75, 85, 95. If you continue to work and pay into Social Security, then Social Security will look at that every single year. Once you do your taxes and everything, once they get the information from your employer or the IRS, they will look at that every single year. And if it's one of your high 35 years, then they will adjust your benefit amount. And that's exactly what they did with this individual. And the reason he is getting $144 in back pay here is because they do this retroactive. So they said, okay, hey, in 2024, we looked at your earnings and, we just got it, took a while, whatever the case may be. He delayed doing his filing his taxes or whatever. Sometimes it takes a while. And a lot of people are getting this letter now. And it just said, hey, 2024, you made a lot of money. It was one of your high 35 years of earnings. So what we did is we kicked out one of your low ones and we stuck in the new one for 2024. And then we determined your benefit amount increased by about, $12, $13 or something like that. And because it took us until October, you were actually eligible for that benefits, entitled to those benefits starting in January. So the $144 is back pay, retroactive pay all the way to January of this year, and going forward, we're going to pay you, the extra few dollars a month going forward for the rest of your life. So that's basically what it is that recalculation once you're working. So. Let's see what else we have here. Susan, what's up, Susan? I have only went to my doctor's office for a yearly checkup and haven't gone back, so I save the government money. It's so crazy. Okay, yeah. But if you have a Medicare Advantage company, you didn't save the government money. You actually made a lot of money for your Medicare Advantage company. So if you have a Medicare Advantage company, if you have a Medicare supplement, then yes. But if you have Medicare Advantage, what happens is when you sign up for a Medicare Advantage plan, the government pays your Medicare Advantage plan a certain amount every month, per member per month. So let's say you're an average enrollee in a relatively average county. That's how they determine it. Then if you haven't used it for 12 months, let's say, then your company, that Medicare Advantage plan, got $12,000 and you haven't used it. Maybe used $100 of it or something, $200. Let's just say $1,000. So they made $11,000 profit on you. So yeah, it's your money. That money, it doesn't, it comes from the government, but it came from you, came from us. It came for all those decades you paid into FICA taxes, the Medicare part of FICA. It comes from the $185 you had to pay for the Part B premium, and the other part of it comes from general taxation. So yeah, use it. So obviously, don't go get sick or fall or something just so you can get your money back. But do all your, as we used to say in the Marine Corps, your preventative maintenance, colonoscopies, mammograms, all that kind of stuff. So the wealthy need to pay into it. Yeah, that's the reason we pay. The rest of us, if you make under $176,100, you pay FICA, Social Security on every dollar you make. After that, not so much. And people say, well, if they pay more, they'll get more. They don't understand the bin points. It's progressive in the sense of if the average amount you made throughout your life was about $1,000 a month, then your replacement rate, is how they do this, is about 90%. So you get about $900 a month. If your average earnings throughout your life was about $10,000 a month, then your replacement rate is about 35%. So you get about $3,500 a month. So lower earnings get more. This has been the same since 1935. And so they're calculated by this thing called bin points, 90%, 32, 15%. So if we take the cap off of Social Security, it will save the Social Security. It'll add decades on to it, so you won't get your benefit won't get cut by 23% and 87 checks. It might be 800 checks or something, and so we have to figure something else out. But we just add another bin point. Instead of 90, 32, and 15, we add a 0.1%, and then name a dog park after them or something. Yeah. Sienna, I received SSDI, $590. Now, as SSI was cut due an inheritance over 2,000 limit. Yep. I purchased a home with my dad, half ownership. Should I put it in a trust for my daughter later? Yeah, you talk to your lawyer about a trust or anything like that. But in terms of, um, so your SSI was cut due to inheritance because you're single. Your resources, maximum resources for SSI is $2,000. If you're married, it's $3,000. So, um, but you purchased a home, and for most federal benefits, Medicaid, SNAP, SSI, um, your your primary home and one car is excluded. So if you had that money and then you spent it down, is what they call it, spend down, and now you're under $2,000 because you bought a home, that home, that if that's your primary home, if you have a secondary home, then yeah, you're out of luck. But if that's your primary home now, that's excluded. Um, so I would definitely check it out and say, yes, I had SSI, and I was cut off. So you're still technically eligible, because either you're disabled or you're over the age of 65, which are the two categories for SSI. You're just not getting it because you're over the limit. So as soon as you're under the $2,000 limit and they apply those exclusions to your primary home and primary vehicle, then they should restart your benefits. So that is the law. That's the regulation. So, Rochelle, is it possible to put in a trust that your Social Security benefits go to your children instead of your wife getting it after 28 years of marriage? No, no. I'm not a lawyer, but yeah, no, you can't do that. Yeah, if you were married to someone, they're entitled to those benefits if they tolerated you for the 10 years, if it was a divorce type situation. So the only way your children can get benefits from Social Security is if the child is under the age of 18 or became disabled before the age of 22. So let's see. Haley, my niece was born at 24 weeks gestation, 7 months in NICU, and bills are crazy. I didn't know until yesterday that it's automatic SSI. The funeral was here. Oh gosh. Yeah, I just, was it yesterday? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. A lot of people don't know the programs that Social Security offers. People think Social Security is, retirement and Social Security cards. And so this is one of the reasons, we'll just go ahead and go AI. You don't need people at Social Security because, it's so simple and there's not that much that needs to be done and all this kind of stuff. But I went through all of the programs yesterday that Social Security does, including low birth weight babies, SSI. We used to send someone out in our office to go to the local hospitals when we had a low birth weight baby, and they took the application for SSI. It was usually so they can get the Medicaid, because if you have a child like that, the medical bills are crazy. So people get eligible for Medicaid once they're eligible for SSI. It's called categorically eligible. And there's people that don't know. The hospitals usually address that, because, obviously the hospitals want to get paid. So if that happens, then they say, hey, you need to contact Social Security and file for SSI so you can be eligible for Medicaid so we can get paid. But one of the things that's going to happen with this, unfortunately, and it's happened before after COVID ended, is we're going to see a lot of bureaucratic disenrollment. So you've got politicians saying, no, we're not cutting people off of Medicaid. We're just kicking off the lazy gamers and, undocumented immigrants. And I've just showed that that's all BS. People are going to get cut off. But there's going to be, the states are going to get less money, but they still have to cover people. So either the states are going to raise taxes in your state to cover those people, or they're going to make it crazy difficult for those people to continue to get Medicaid. So this is called bureaucratic disenrollment, where they make you jump through so many hoops and you fill out the paperwork and oops, we lost it, or you forgot to check this box, or you forgot to date here. This, as we used to say in the Marine Corps, we need everything in triplicate: one for me, one for you, and one to burn so the Russians don't get it. And yeah, I was in the Marine Corps during the Cold War, so that's what we used to say. So the states are going to do all kinds of tricks to try to kick people off of Medicaid, even if they're eligible, so the states can save money because they're just not getting it anymore. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but our community here is committed to make sure that doesn't happen to you and your loved ones. So, Dr. Weir, I know how to solve SSA crisis. Dr. Weir is now the new commissioner of Social Security. Your first tax is to fire Doge. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think I'm positive I don't want to run for any political office or anything like that. And what's the embarrassing thing is, I don't know if for the new people that are joining us here today, the Commissioner of Social Security, Frank Bisignano, who had to Google when he was hired for Social Security, had to Google what the heck a Commissioner of Social Security does. So he didn't even know what it was. And now this is his part-time gig. So he is, running, Uber Eats for Social Security, because his full-time gig now, he is also the CEO of the IRS, because, the fact that, the customer service is terrible at Social Security, and the fact that benefits are going to be cut in the future this administration doesn't really care about it. So proof is they said the Commissioner of Social Security, who's supposed to be taking all these issues, yeah, don't worry about that. You can do that on the weekend. We want you to be the CEO of the IRS. Explain that to me, how that prioritizes the 70 plus million Americans receiving Social Security benefits. How can you stand there and say this administration supports Social Security and stuff when they're not doing anything? Again, this is not only this administration. The Biden administration didn't do anything. The previous Trump administration didn't do anything. The Obama administration didn't do anything. The Bush administration, the Clinton administration, all the politicians the last 40 years haven't done anything to fix it, because the proof is in the pudding. It's going to be cut. And now we have to do something. But, making the guy that runs it, his part-time job is, yeah. Why should say the government money? What the heck is that? Yeah, so nothing wrong with saving the government money. I'm sure the people will be invited to a steak dinner in that big, beautiful fleecing of American ballroom. Yes, Trump steaks. I think they went out of business. Dr. Dargar, hi, thanks for all the info. When I called chapter, I really understood everything we talked about. 7 Ps helped tremendously. Now I have A, B, C, and D with C and D for free. Okay, awesome, good deal. I got some emails that chapter didn't respond to calls a couple of days ago, but was it yesterday, day before yes? Yeah, the entire world, I guess, the Amazon Web Services went down, and chapter uses part of their system is Amazon Web Services, so they were having a hard time. They were like everybody else was. The entire world looks like it shut down for a few hours, but they're back up now. And if you have any issues getting a hold of chapter, just go ahead and email me, and I'll make sure they reach out to you. But yeah, what they were talking about are the 7 Ps. So this is the annual enrollment period, October 15th to December 7th. So if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, you really need to check it for 2026 to make sure it's still the best one. You want to keep your same doctors. You want to save as much money. If you want to keep the same company, beautiful. If you really like that company for whatever reason, that company probably has 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different plans in your area. So they might have a better plan, the same company. But the 7 Ps is when you call chapter or anybody to help you, have that plan available if you have it, if you have one. If you don't have it available, they can look it up based on your Medicare number. But have the names of the doctors and clinics you definitely want to keep, your prescriptions, the dosage, whether it's a capsule or tablet or whatever. If you want to have a particular pharmacy that you really want to use to support, your priorities need more dental, need more vision, prices, 0 premium. If it's a Medicare, most Medicare Advantage plans are 0 premium, but they get you on the back end, $100 versus $300 for a hospital, MRI, $50 versus $500. So you want to check those prices. And persistence. We're going to have Sarah from Chapter Medicare, the member success team, and she's the one that you helps chapter clients, customers throughout the year. So in January, February, March, April, you lose your doctor and you're having a hard time finding another one, you call Sarah and her team and they find you a doctor, can schedule an appointment for you. If the health insurance company sends you a weird bill and you don't understand it, you can contact Chapter. If you get a prior authorization and denial for something, they can help you fight it. So you can reach out to them, and they are open pretty much, 7 days a week now until December 7th. So I always thought it was weird that the annual enrollment period, Medicare determined it to be December 7th. It's a weird day in U.S. history. They should have made it the 6th or the 8th or something. But anyway, I had a very pleasurable experience at the Social Security office about 2 months ago. They were efficient and very friendly. All right, Howard, thank you very much for letting us know. Yeah, they're even with the skeleton staff. It's good that, people don't take it out on, people walking into the office. So Howard, let us know what office. We always like to shout out to those offices that are still doing a great job out there. So yeah, let us know what office that is. We appreciate it. You all need to go and listen to Warren Buffett. This guy is too confusing. Good luck to listen to this. I was going to do a video on that. The one you're talking about is AI. So I'm not AI. You can tell if I was AI, I would put more hair on my head. But watch, the Warren Buffett video about Medicare, Medicare Advantage. He just repeats the same thing over and over for like 25 minutes. And you can see he does the same exact movements. Or he's like this. And then 3 minutes later, he's like, yeah, someone took an AI video of it and repeated it and then put words in his mouth. So yeah. Yep, Covey. If you like AI people, yeah. I'll do a video about that. And yeah, so it's, Joe, I'm going to be out of work end of this year. I'm just going to prove I'm AI here. I'm going to be out of work end of this year. I won't turn 65 until 2027, so I'll need health insurance until Medicare eligible. Are there any best practices searching for private health insurance? Yeah, right now it's the whole thing is a nightmare. The advanced premium tax credits are being cut substantially. There's going to be millions of people that lose. So we're talking about the Affordable Care Act here. So I've got a number in my description. You can reach out to them and they can see what they can find for you. But yeah, it's kind of the same thing on same type of situation when you get a Medicare Advantage plan. Any type of health insurance is you look at your providers, make sure your providers are covered, your prescriptions, all that kind of stuff. So same type of situation. This is not only for Medicare Advantage. This is also for the Affordable Care Act and all the rest of it. So yeah, make sure you get the right thing and then, use it. Let's see. I read ACA premiums are already rising. It is too late. Yeah, it looks like that's the main reason they did the shutdown. That says, hey, and the irony of it, the highest increases are in red states and like Louisiana and stuff. And those people are really going to hurt. And so, yeah, but, this explains it all right here. It's like, well, there's one person out there that doesn't look like me and I don't like it and they're doing better than me and yada, yada, yada. And I want that person to hurt. So I'm going to make all the other 100 hurt just to get that one person because I want to get that one person. And then guess what? It comes back to them. So, and then they say, oh my gosh, I didn't know it was going to come back to me. So Carol, I'm 61 and have been disabled for years. When will it change to retirement Social Security? Will it be getting the same pay, which is about $2,200 a month, or will it go down? No. Once you hit your full retirement age, probably 67 for you, then your Social Security disability benefits will switch to regular retirement benefits, but nothing will change. So no change whatsoever. But Carol, remember, you're receiving disability benefits, but you're also eligible. Well, if you are eligible, you need to file. If you're eligible for survivor benefits, you can start survivor benefits at 60. It doesn't affect your disability benefit. It goes on top. If it's more than your disability benefits, you can add money. It's always a beautiful thing to add extra money every month. Once you turn 62, if you're eligible for spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, independently entitled divorce spouse benefits, then you can get those benefits. It doesn't affect your disability. It doesn't affect your Medicare. And then when you turn 65, that's when you can, if in most states, if you're on disability, you're receiving Medicare under 65, the only thing you can get is a Medicare Advantage plan. But when you turn 65, you can get whatever you want. They can't deny you. They can't charge you extra. So definitely check that out. And if you're getting Medicare now, make sure you reach out to someone and check your plan for next year. So Christine Buckingham, the $40 billion to Argentina, bailed, put a hedge fund investor, Paolo Besant, who lost money in the investment in Argentina, helps Americans. Yeah. There was, the IMF gave a lot of money to Argentina. That didn't work. And now we're giving another 20 plus another 20 to Argentina. And ballrooms and arches and let them eat cake. So he should have plenty of money in the budget to help the rest of us. Yeah, you would think. You can be sure Trump has found a way to have taxpayers pay for his ballroom. Yeah, I mean, people say, well, he's paying for it himself but it's the optics of it. While millions of people lose their health insurance, millions of people lose their food stamps, millions of people, half of the people receiving Social Security benefits are living on essentially Social Security alone, and they're struggling. And then you go build a golden ballroom. If you're going to build something, add something onto the East Wing, offices, put people in those offices to help people. Right. I mean, to be completely fair about the, this is not the West Wing where a lot of, the presidential staff and stuff. The East Wing was for the second lady. And then the kind of the social offices, the offices. So yeah, it wasn't the critical parts of the government was in the East Wing. And the East Wing was only added in 1942 to cover up the bunker that was underneath it. But it's still, even if it's private funded, even if it's, that part of the White House is relatively new, come on, there's people, is that where our priority should be, is in a big ballroom? So I would argue no, but if you get free tickets to the ballroom, I'm sure you will enjoy it. How do these people stand at the microphone every day and absolutely lie through their teeth? How the hell do you sleep at night? Appalling. Not sure who you're talking about. Who are these people? What amount will come out in 2026 Social Security check? Will come out for 2026. Are we talking about the cuts that are going to happen in 87 checks? No, that won't happen until 2033, probably earlier. But yeah, not 2026. But in terms of COLA, we don't know what the COLA is yet. How much will go in there? So. Dr. Ed, it's going to cost me hundreds if Social Security office doesn't work the papers I faxed. I got confirmation of receipt last week, although I'm outrageously busy. Should I go in person to ensure? Not exactly sure what type of papers you faxed. So you fax some papers and you need Social Security to do something. So when you faxed your papers into Social Security, into the local Social Security office, it goes into a system called WorkTrack. And how do I know? Is because I helped design that system. And it's an awesome system. And I know 100% for sure if you faxed in there and you got confirmation that your fax went through, then Social Security office has it. Guaranteed. That system was designed very, very good. But it's in the system, but now just a human being needs to go in there and pull that out of WorkTrack and actually work it. But as Social Security employees are few and far between now, and they're, according to the policy, when I was there, you had 45 days to clear out WorkTrack. So there couldn't be anything in WorkTrack it's a paperless system. You couldn't have anything over 45 days. My office, my regulation in my office was 15 days. you had to clear out work track and do all the workloads and take all the actions within 15 days. Because what I found is if we wait 45 days like was allowed nationwide, then we would get more calls and people visiting the office asking about it. So rather than, adding that workload, we said, hey, we're going to get it done in 15 days. And so our office was pretty awesome in that respect. But most offices, and particularly now with no staff, it's probably, 60 days or 90 days or something. So if you need something done quickly, immediately, if not sooner, then unfortunately, yeah, you're going to have to go down there. And if hopefully you still have copies, that'll make it easier. They can go into work track and find it, but if you have them right there, that's probably going to be quicker. So yeah. And then tell them, if you go to an office and the guard is there, and the guard is not a Social Security employee. They're hired. It's called Federal Protective Services. They're a contracted private company guard that guards. So just tell them that, hey, this is, important. I sent this stuff in there weeks ago. I need whatever you need. I need the money. I need my Medicare to start, whatever the case may be. And tell them, hey, tell them how important it is. And the guard should let you in. So they better let you in. So. We need to call Mr. President, do something, work into Social Security, but good, not bad. To do some work into, yeah, there is no plan to, again, this is not partisan. The previous administration had a plan to raise FICA and everything like that, but they didn't do it. So having a plan is fine. That's a start, but if you don't implement it, then it doesn't help. The current administration doesn't even have a plan. So, and they're making Social Security a part-time job for this guy. So, let's see if I can find, what about the guy that said we're talking out of my buttocks? I'd like to see what he was talking about. 2 of my clients have lost their food stamps. They try to work and make a living, but they're very sick and sometimes just can't keep it together. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's how we take care of the least of us shows what type of people we are. And we are, yeah, not doing great. I have been for 3 months every day to no help at all. And what happened to Drool Baby Drool? Gas prices are coming down. Yeah. And prices are going up. And I've got a bunch of video clips of people on Fox Business and stuff saying, yeah, tariffs are essentially a sales tax. Who pays the majority of the tariffs? We do. So, yeah, so we may have gotten a few dollars extra once we do our taxes, but we're paying for more on tariffs. And there is no taxes on Social Security. The president keeps saying he passed that there's no taxes on Social Security. That is 100% inaccurate. 100% inaccurate. There are taxes on Social Security. A majority of the people, about 50% of people, don't pay taxes on Social Security benefits, but the other half do, and they still have to pay it. There is a deduction that was passed, a temporary deduction, but you still have to pay taxes on Social Security. So I called Social Security yesterday, and agent said being 63 years old, and if I filed for retirement, it would be the same amount each year if I filed at 63, 64, 65 until my full retirement. You talk to somebody that didn't know what they're talking about. Yeah, 100% incorrect. The only way that would be the case is if you were talking about disability benefits. If you said, I want to file for Social Security disability benefits, then yeah, that's the case. Then what happens if you start your Social Security disability benefits at, 59, 60, 62, 63, or whatever the case may be? It's as if you filed for your retirement at your full retirement age. But if you file for retirement benefits early, then at 62, it's a 30% reduction. So yeah, that's 100% incorrect. Unfortunately, yeah. Too many people are getting incorrect answers now because, yeah, they're putting people at the windows that are not fully trained, and the people that train them have been fired, terminated, laid off, whatever. I had not worked since I was disabled. SSA just found the 45 additional earnings at FRA. Should I ask retro pay for $45 for all those years I was disabled? If your earnings record was incorrect, let's say 10 years ago, and now they found those earnings, then then you should get that retro retroactive back for 10 years. But probably your full retirement age, did you work a little bit? Probably not. You said you didn't work, so that's not it. Probably the only other reason, need some more information on this one, but probably you started collecting retirement benefits before you started collecting disability benefits, and they did what's called an ARF, an adjusted reduction factor. But yeah, do me a favor. Give me a little bit of information. Obviously, don't give me your private information or anything like that. But give me a little bit more information and put it on my, the easiest way to do it is to go on to my website, mygovexpert.com. And let me take this out here. And you see on the bottom left there where it says question or comment, there you can record a 2-minute video and give me some more details on exactly, what you're talking about there so I can figure out what's going on. So you can click on that little question or comment thing there and it pops up a place you can record a 2-minute video, and then I will respond to that. So obviously don't give your social security number or your full name or anything like that, but yeah, go ahead and do that, and then we'll figure out what's going on there. And speaking of that, I do have a few video questions. So let's see what we got here.
Hi, Ed. I'm trying this again. That last recording didn't go so well. I seem to have lost my app on my phone. My Social Security app mysteriously disappeared. Luckily, I photographed all the information like you recommended and saved it. But now I'm having trouble finding the app and reloading it on my phone and iPad. Can you give me some advice as to what's happening? Are they taking away apps, or so maybe my phone somehow deleted it? But
Okay, yeah, there is no My Social Security app. So you probably had, you went to ssa.gov, and this is the only way I would do it. I wouldn't, the only app, there are two apps. There's a Medicare, what Medicare pays for, which is a great app. I love the app. So if you want to find out what Medicare pays for this, that, and the other, you can type it in there. It tells you, whether it's covered by Part A and Part B and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really great app. And the only other app that Social Security has is if you're receiving particularly disability benefits and you want to report your work. But other than that, it doesn't have a mysocialsecurity.gov app. And I probably, if you go into the App Store and think you see one, it's probably a fraud. They might come out with one maybe, but I haven't seen one yet. So probably what you had is you went into your phone and did a Google search and then saved that page, the MyGov, my Social Security, not my Social Security. You probably just saved that page, but I would just go into ssa.gov and then go in it that way. Never. Sometimes if there's a new letter that goes into your mysocialsecurity.gov your account, they will send you an email. And then they'll say, hey, we put some more information in there. We updated this, that, and the other. You can check here. And they give you a link where you can press it. I would never press it because it might be from some, a scammy source. So if you get an email that says, hey, we put something in your account and it's a letter that we need to tell you something about, then say, oh, okay, delete. And then go into ssa.gov and then go in there directly. That's the safest way to do it. We want to make sure, people stay safe out there. All right, we got a few more
Hi,
video
Dr.
questions.
Ed. I am on SSDI, and I am wondering if I am 59. I will be 60 in February 2026, and I'm wondering if it would be better for me to draw on my ex's. We were married for 16 years. If it would be better for me to draw on his Social Security versus my disability. It may be more than my disability.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it better. You're still going to get, so if you're receiving disability benefits, I was talking about earlier, if you're receiving disability benefits and you're 60 and you're eligible for survivor benefits, check out those benefits and see if you want to go ahead and start those survivor benefits, or wait until you're full retirement age and get a higher benefit amount. So it really depends on your particular situation. But yeah, you can get survivor spouse benefits at 60 years old added on top of your disability. One offsets the other, but if it's more, then you'll get more money. So if you're 62 years old, then yeah, if your current spouse is receiving Social Security, you can add those benefits on top. If you're divorced, 10 years. If you were married for at least 10 years, then you can get those divorce spouse benefits. If those benefits are higher than your disability. So yes, 100%, I would check it out and contact Social Security and get that extra money. Absolutely. Remember, a lot of people say, oh yeah, I can get an extra $200, $300, $500 from my ex-spouse above and beyond what I'm receiving from disability. But because I'm 62 or 63 years old, then that means I will get off disability and I will get on spouse benefits. And I don't want to get off disability because I'll lose Medicare. That is 100% incorrect. You will continue to have your disability. You'll continue to have Medicare. You'll just add that on top of that. So there's a lot of, we really need to reach out to those people and make sure they're doing the right thing.
Hi, Ed. My name is Sonia LaPointe. I was calling to find out, I have cancer. The cancer's pretty much gone, but could still come back up. So I'm under immunotherapy treatment still for the cancer. I'm also down to 72 pounds and my body hurts all the time. I am getting SSDI. Will that be affected, or will they cut me off or cut it down? How does that work? Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.
Okay, so I talked about disability yesterday, and I've done some videos. The current administration is doing a bunch of stuff to make it more difficult to qualify for disability and more difficult to continue to receive disability benefits. So the only way, if you're currently receiving disability benefits, the only way you could be cut off is through a work or a medical CDR, continuing disability review. So if so it doesn't sound like you're not working, so that's not an issue. But with a medical CDR, you're put on a particular cycle every year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, or whatever the case may be. So if you get that medical CDR, you just fill it out. We're gonna come up with some solutions to help people out with the continuing disability reviews, the medical portion of it. But don't worry about it now. Your benefits are safe. The only way they can shut it off is if they determine you're no longer disabled, and that it sounds like in your case that is not the fact. So don't worry about the CDR until you actually get it in the mail. If your CDR isn't scheduled for a year or two, don't worry about it. Just what I recommend is going to the dollar store, getting a cheap notebook, and just writing down stuff. Okay, I went to the doctor's at this time and for this and medication, just a short little thing. And that way, if you get a CDR in the future, you've got your little thing there, and it makes it so much easier, less headaches. So you're good. Make sure you're getting everything else though. As I said, if you're spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, surviving spouse benefits, if you're receiving Medicare, remember your Medicare, people on disability get Medicare after 24 months. If you're low income, low resources, you can get Medicaid from the state. And if you're getting the higher levels of Medicaid, the Medicaid can pay for your Part B premium, the $185, food stamps, the extra help with the prescription drug plans. There's just so many plans out there. So if you've got any other questions, make sure you reach out again. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Ed. This is Sajid Aziz from Brooklyn, New York. I have a question about the earning test. If anybody goes over that earning limit, then what happens and how that works? If you go over, do you have to pay that money back to the Social Security? I don't.
Okay. So this is a common question here, and on my website it goes into. Let me pull this up here. If you go onto my website and click on the retirement tab up there, it gives you all the different options, working and benefits. So if you're under your full retirement age, then this year, 2025, you're limited the amount of money you can make. That's $23,400. Anything over that, Social Security holds back $1 for every $10 you go over. So, and remember, I'm still not an AI here. So you can go check out Warren Buffett AI, but I'm not. Anyway. So if you're, let's say you earn $10,000 more, they're going to withhold $5,000 worth of benefits. And how do they do that? It depends when you tell them. If you tell them before you earn it, then they will suspend your benefits for however many months. So let's say if you're $10,000 over, they're going to hold back $5,000 worth of benefits. Let's say your benefit amount is $2,000 a month. They're going to withhold January, February, March, $6,000. Yeah, but they can't hold back partial checks. They'll hold back the entire checks. So until they get the $5,000, and then starting April, they'll release those checks. All right. If you don't tell Social Security, and therefore they can't suspend your benefits like that, then once they find out that you made $10,000 too much, then they will send you a nastygram that says, we paid you, $5,000 too much because we should have withheld $1 for every $2. And so you owe us $5,000. And at that time, on my website, it tells you about overpayments and everything. So that's the two ways you can suspend it, or you can pay the overpayment. And there's a lot of people that, are kind of borderline and they're not sure if they're going to go over. So they just kind of let it ride. And then they get the nastygram the following year when they file their taxes and everything. And it says, yeah, you owe us this much money. And then Social Security gets blamed for it by politicians. It says, oh, look at Social Security. They're so incompetent. They make incorrect payments of all these people. That's because people volunteer to get incorrect payments sometimes. And it's a good strategy. Once you hit your full retirement age, then you can make as much money as you want, $1 billion a month, and it doesn't affect your Social Security benefits negatively at all. You'll pay extra on Medicare, but in terms of Social Security, it doesn't affect it negatively at all. The year you turn your full retirement age, the months before you hit your full retirement age, the limit is $62,160. And anything over that, they hold back $1 for every $3 you go over. So, all right, let's see here. We're over an hour. I've got a few more questions here. I don't know why everyone worries so much about other countries getting money. It's been done for years. The thing to worry about is that the only philosophy is cut taxes and cut government spending. Yeah, it's interesting that politicians, another thing they've been saying for decades, oh yeah, we'll shore up Social Security. We'll make sure you don't get cuts in the future, but once we stop giving money to other countries, then we'll start taking care of our own American citizens. Well, guess what? That's been proven to be wrong as well, BS as well, because they did cut all money, USAID going to foreign countries. And did y'all get a check in your mailbox yet for all so they stopped giving money to other countries and they gave it to us? No, of course they didn't. They kept it for tax breaks for the rich. So yeah, it's really painted themselves in a corner, and reality is proving, Are they changing the grid rules to make it harder for older people to get disability? Yes, that is what they're looking to do. For those people that are 50 and older, they're trying to take out age as a determinative factor in the grid rules. So, but they haven't done it yet. But that's the proposal. There were so many questions the past 2 nights, and tonight are just comments. We have his attention and no questions. Well, I'm finding some questions here. So, someone told me the ballroom was paid by private donations. Then when it was built, the first open, Trump held a donation to thank his donors. Yeah. Again, who pays for it, but is that I would argue that we have other priorities in this country rather than a golden ballroom, regardless who pays for it. So that $250 million, I think, could go in other better places rather than a gold ballroom for the rich and powerful to drink champagne and congratulate each other on how awesome they are. So, but that's just me. I was told to file 3 months early to be effective as of my 65th birthday. I just want to be I just don't want to be lied to and lose the money if I file early to take Social Security. Yeah, when you file for benefits, so it sounds like you want your benefits to start at 65, and so if you file for 3 months early, you don't want it to start at 3 months. No problem. You're talking about the MOE, the month of entitlement. So if you file 3 months as part of the application process, it'll say, when do you want your benefits to start? And you say 65 in 1 month, 65 in 2 months, or I want them to start now. So yeah, you make that decision. So, all right, let's see here. Let me see if we've got a question. I have a hard-working, loving husband, but with inflation, we haven't been able to afford groceries and being bed bound. I've still lost 15 pounds this month alone. Oh my gosh. Make sure on my website, I've done a few videos on this, on living on Social Security alone. Go onto my website and it gives some resources. And our new website that we're coming up with is going to help out, I hope, tremendously as well. Kind of crowdsource some help in your particular area, your particular state. But there's SSI, SNAP, which is going to be hurt. The Medicare savings program is going to be hurt because of the big, beautiful for billionaire bills. Medicaid is obviously going to be hurt, but there are other programs out there. So make sure you're getting everything you're eligible for, everything possibly that you need. There's not enough, unfortunately, because, yeah, anyway. All right, we are over an hour, and I apologize if I didn't get to your question. Sometimes I skip around a bit because that's the way the questions come up, unfortunately. And this is a one-man operation here, just me and my son, and he's doing other things right now. So, all right, I appreciate you all as always. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much. I will be back again tomorrow. If I didn't answer your question today, join me tomorrow. Make a video. As you can see, I love answering the video questions. Gives me a chance to wet my whistle there. So please take care of each other, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.